Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. Here we're making this lightsaber today. Hope you enjoy. Best of luck. Well, here we have the starting point of it. I already have marked off and partially carved into the emitter shroud. Marked a drill hole. Gone around as well. Used a triangle file. I know it's old and rusty. And this is the other tool I'm currently using. It's a old sawzall blade. Nothing fancy. And the total length is from the edge right over here, as you can see, all the way across. 11.5. And then we're going to heat up this lower section after I'm done cutting out this and cutting out the shroud cover, which is going to cover up over in this area where my pinky is touching and come up about 1/4 to 1/2 inch. And I'm also going to carve a katana style hand grip all the way to the bottom, and then down here I'm going to make a katana style pommel. And this right here is going to be a lightsaber known as the Merc. Okay, as you can see, I have lines marked here all the way down to the other side. Almost a little over an inch space between the sides. You cut the grooves all the way through all 4 of these, maybe 3 depending on your spacing. And then you would heat up this general area to get the specific bend you want for the curvature of the lightsaber hilt. Okay, after cutting the grooves on the 4 or 3, depending on how you space them, even without heat, you can still get somewhat of a bend, but adding heat and then a cold rag allows for proper separation of the molecules in the plastic, so that way you can get a solid bend section. After heating up the blade on a fire pit, you go from a straight bar, like such for example, to this. After those 4 slits are in there, and then you use some water to cool it down, and then to clean up all of this burn excess, use some sandpaper. After cutting the grooves like you were informed to do, adding some epoxy putty to fill up the gaps to give it a little structural integrity is always a smart idea. And then after it dries, you can sand it down. But while it is still tacky, you can use a sharp or solid plastic object to push off as much as you can, much like you would with regular putty. Ignore the brown mark there. That is from heating it up a little bit to get this extra bend right here to go in, as you can see. And then right here is a simple example of how a grip pattern can be designed. Center line going all the way down the side and the center. And as you can see right here, drawing an opposite idea of what a potential grip. This is the grip I have designed for the Merc lightsaber. This is the grip pattern I am designing for one known as the Jackal. The difference between that one and the one I'm currently building is this one will have a fox-shaped emitter guard right up here. Well, technically a jackal-shaped. And the Merc one has the much more simpler one that we are building in this process, like so, as you can see. Ignore the paint. It is not a good color combination. And as you can see, the grip pattern on this is nice and fluid, passes off as a katana handle wrap, maybe even a snake belly. And if you continue that a diamond pattern onto the side here of the back of it, the handle, you could have a snakeskin pattern. Here's the belly, here's the sides and back. And then you could put a snake head shape right here, and maybe even put a sharp point at the bottom using a custom wooden pommel with a 1-inch diameter piece of wooden dowel similar to this. You would just plug it in. Sorry, it's not fitting as easily. Like so. And then you would just carve all of this into the tail section, or whatever type of snake. For example, if you wanted to do a rattler, you would just thin the rest of the PVC here down using either a knife or sanding paper, and then get this all into a sharp cone section. Put a very small set screw, or a screw with a triangular tip that's flat-headed, and then use a drill bit to slightly widen this out. But I would always recommend putting that screw into the back side so it's not going to break off from the side. And even then, this is the pommel. You would only use it for tapping onto things like you see in movies, where they hit it with the butt of the blade handle. And yeah, this is a piece of the blade, as you can see here. This one is made out of solid oak. Normally I make them out of poplar wood because it's cheaper, but my local hardware store that I went to obtain these components from, well, not this because I had already had this part, but everything else here, not including the screw of course, I already had. I needed the 1-inch internal, and I needed the wooden dowel because all of my other ones were already pre-painted. But this is 1 1/4 internal diameter, which fits just snugly on there. You can use a little bit of tape, maybe some of the plumber's putty to fit into the spacing, as you can see right there. But you would fill it up all the way using the same process I explained to do the little fixture grooves right here. As you can see, there are 3 of them. And yeah, and then right about here, I'm going to carve a certain character's emblem, and that's what's going to signify this as the merc. But this is just only for a singular person. If anyone else would want this, they would have to do it themselves, because I personally will not sell something like that because I am not dealing with licensing infringement. I don't want that kind of lawsuit on my hands. Basic idea for making the pommel section: you take some 1 1/4 internal diameter PVC, make a square line around the edge like how I've done here, and then draw some design to cut into. And I'm also going to put a slit right down here. After cutting it, I'm going to use a power drill to dink 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 dink, get a couple of spots, and also mark the bottom edge of this right here. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side, because as you can see, the bottom line right here roughly lines up with the point of the corner section. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side, so that way it is as equal as possible. And if it's not equal, not the worst thing in the world. It gives it a little extra character, and you can also have the thinner section up front so your fingers have a better grip around it, so to speak. Okay, here we have the design lines marked out for the start of the grip section that goes into the wavy pattern down here. And then right here we have the marking for the drill spot and the emitter shroud cut. These arrows right here point to the cuts where it's supposed to be. The grooves down here I have to add into with the epoxy putty. And also, after doing some cutting last night and some grinding, the pommel cap with the side cut out, I just need to sand that a little bit more and a little bit more on the top side here, but it's nice and smooth. Gonna have to take the saw blade, cut a little bit more into this to get a better groovature, and then use this tool right here, a hacksaw with a round blade, which, if it was a file, would be considered a rat tail file. But I know it's old, it's got gunk on it, but it still works just fine. So using what you got works better than nothing, and as long as you can make a decent product for yourself, it doesn't matter what tools you have. But I'm going through this whole process showing of what you can do with basic bare minimum tools. I'm only using a power drill for power tools. And even though I do have access to a jigsaw and a circular saw, I'm not using them, so that way even little kids with help of their parents or older siblings that are capable of using the tools for them in certain situations can have their own custom lightsabers made for themselves. Well, here we go. We have the base black, the red, slowly going through the effort of painting in the grooves white. And then once that's all done, once the little emitter shroud piece that goes right here and the pommel piece are done drying from their clear coat, they will be glued on and installed permanently so it can never come off. And the blade is just waiting for its clear coat because it's currently drying from its second coat of the gold. And yeah, the merc will soon be done. Well, the merc lightsaber has been finished. Silver pommel, gold trim, white grooves on red, black, silver, and a gold blade. Honestly, it came out a lot better than I thought it was going to. Now, the only thing that would make this better is the emblem of the character it was inspired by right there.